Florida's governor is taking aim at one of the country's most prominent Muslim civil rights groups. Governor Ron DeSantis signed an executive order labeling the Council on American-Islamic Relations, most commonly known as CAIR, as a, quote, foreign terrorist organization, end quote. CAIR has fired back at a press conference in Tampa announcing a lawsuit. The chapter's interim executive director called the order, quote, defamatory and unconstitutional, end quote.
To our governor, your designation has no basis in law or fact.
This order by DeSantis follows Texas, whose governor also labeled CAIR a foreign terrorist group. CAIR was founded in 1994 and has chapters in nearly 24 states. Kim, I'd like to start with you. Your reaction to this. If the U.S. government has not declared CAIR a terrorist organization, is it surprising that a state would?
Thank you for the opportunity to be here today, Lissette. I gotta say, to my way of thinking, this is a federal issue. Should be handled at the federal level. I can't imagine that these two organizations aren't consistently under investigation. Normally, when you take a bold action of this, or maybe even precipitous action of this sort, you back it up with some very concrete examples of egregious acts or that justify your classification. Now, lawsuits at this level are a slippery slope. CAIR, of course, and the Muslim Brotherhood will be fighting, CAIR in particular, fighting lawsuits on two different fronts. Maybe money's not an issue for them. In our case, it will be taxpayer money used to fight a lawsuit. And I think that it opens up, it's a slippery slope in the sense that document discovery and things of this nature will come to light.
And that's something that DeSantis has said. You know, I'd like to ask you, Patrick, about that. The governor has said that he welcomes the opportunity for the lawsuit because then the state will be able to look at their financial records as part of the legal discovery. Do you think that this is something that could become an even bigger problem?
I believe the federal government's already monitoring them. I think they've been monitored since the day they were founded. I think they've been the most investigated group that I can imagine. And I think that the federal government would have been the first one to say, yeah, we have a problem there. I almost have a great feeling that they won't find anything because, like I said, I believe that they're constantly being monitored. I think the governor's using it as a distraction. I think that the economy's not good. I think that there's a lot of problems here in Florida. And I think why not point the finger at Muslims and say, hey, there's terrorism here. This is a stupid thing for a state to do. This is a national issue. And I think really at the end of the day, I think the governor's trying to set it up to perhaps stop voucher money from going to Muslim schools. He's really trying to make this a Christian state, and he really got very upset that he started realizing that a lot of that education money was going to educate children.
Schools.
Yeah.
Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, this sends a really awful message, I think, to the Muslim community in Tampa Bay. When you look back and you see that earlier, a group of Christian nationalists came to the University of South Florida and harassed students who were praying. And CAIR spoke out, in support of the students, against those who came to harass them, asking USF for a strong response. I just think, this happens, and then only a few weeks later, DeSantis does this. And a lot of what DeSantis does is always, I think, in terms of, gaining some momentum with the conservative base. We saw this with death penalty. And I think, seeing Texas do something, Florida felt it needed an answer. And I just think, I think he's definitely aiming for, to pad his resume for 2028.
You mentioned that CAIR came out and criticized what happened on the campus at USF. I think it's also important to know that there were religious leaders, pastors, and priests who came out as well and criticized what those men did.
But the governor didn't. The governor didn't criticize what happened.
Good point.
He's not there. He's not been there for the Muslim community on any front at any time in the last few years. And it really looks like he's got a war against this religion in this state. And these are taxpayers. They're Americans. And they should be treated as such. And that respect just is not happening.
Well, the worst part is we have so much dissension in this country right now. Fueling more dissension, fueling more discrimination is not necessarily, in my opinion, a good move. And particularly at this time of year when we should all be extending each other grace, love, and tolerance.
It really heightens the level of political stress in a community that doesn't need any additional. Have there been any reports when you're covering the news in the community about problems in recent weeks or months with the Muslim community? Why would this come up now?
I mean, not that I've seen. I know that after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, a Hillsborough commissioner took action against an official who was active in the Muslim community because of comments that were made on Facebook. But beyond that, I've not seen anything, and so I think this is really an unprompted action.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're terrorists, you shouldn't be sending legislation. You should be sending the cops and arresting them. I mean, it's against the law. And so if you've got evidence, arrest people. But they don't have evidence. This is a smear campaign.